I'm Jessie Sage. I am the host of When We're Not Hustling, and this is episode 18 of The After Party, where we're going to talk about the episode we did with Melodie Garcia of the New Moon Network.
Hi, I'm Emily Foster. I'm the producer of When We're Not Hustling. It's my job to remind you to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment, and also check us out on Patreon.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Melissa Milk. I am a fetish and kink practitioner in the Pittsburgh area.
Nice. So we talked to Melodie Garcia. Melodie Garcia with Savannah Sly runs the New Moon Network and also her own consulting company called Orange Cap Consulting, which I thought was very clever for harm reduction consulting. But what did you two take out of the episode, or what stood out to you?
So a lot of what I've gotten from previous episodes that stands out for me because I'm a creative person is when people do sex work and it leads to creative pursuits. But hearing more from this guest and also PJ about like how it pivots into also more like serious career, like what people would think of like serious career oriented pursuits or businesses that go into like things more aligned with care or advocacy.
Yeah.
No,
I was really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Emily.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I thought that was really nice because I actually wanted them to be toward the end of the season because Emily and I were talking about this earlier. We started with Tripp Richards, who was like, had a more meta conversation about like, is it even possible to talk about like what sex workers are doing when they're not working? Because once you're deep into sex work, like your whole life is informed by the fact that you live under stigma, that you do like in some cases criminalized or like highly stigmatized labor, that people view you through the lens of sex work. So it's hard to separate out all of that stuff. Plus you just have experiences that are different than what a lot of what we call like civilians have. So like over time, it changes you. And my mom said that like in her episode, she was like, I think you're probably a different person. And I am, which isn't bad or good. I'm just a different person, than I would be if I didn't go down this thing, which is what Tripp was trying to argue and was saying like, at this point, I can't pull that out. Like I am a sex worker, but like, so that was really useful at the very beginning to think, what does this project of this podcast even look like? But then we had a lot of people talking about their different hobbies and different things that they were focused on. And I like what Melodie did was kind of take it back to that overarching idea of, okay, so let's say that you do this work, you do it for a period of time, you gain a lot of skills within it. How do you use that to then like pivot to something else should you want to? And obviously we're not arguing that people need to be doing something different than sex work. But like at some point, a lot of people want to change all kinds of careers. I used to be a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher anymore. Like at some point I probably will be like, I don't want to be a sex worker anymore. And the thing that's hard about sex work stigma is that it's hard then to, if you don't want to tell people that you were a sex worker, what would I say I've been doing for the last 10 years? Like twiddling my thumbs. Your CV? Like, yeah. And so what Melodie did, I think, was to remind people, and I really like this, actually, you're small business owners. You're doing all kinds of things. How do you take that and use it later as an asset and not as something you need to worry about?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And sex workers are, through the podcast, through getting to meet people, some of the most diverse, like to have the most diversified set of skills I've ever witnessed in my whole entire life.
You're around a lot of creative people though. Like too. You also are.
I mean, also like one of the things that I'm trying to move into and support with sex work is we're working with our friends to create something called Arrow events. We've already thrown some boutique events. We're looking for a space, and it really is about community health and well-being. about like holding space and having events where people can do things in a safer way and find education the same way our guest was trying to, is putting education out there for sex workers and avenues for them to create education and teach other people and for it. And doing something similar, it is really like, it's funny because it's like, I feel like once I really regularly start taking clients, I'm going to be like, I've already been doing this for years.
Yeah. Thank you.
I've had several people respond in that way after showing them the show. They're like, well, I'm already doing this. I'm just apparently donating my time to the community. Not, to be clear, not having sex, but the care work and the intimacy work and all of that.
Sex is actually kind of small, much smaller than most people think.
That's not really part of it. That's not the thing. No, I loved, what really touched me was the philanthropy aspect where Melanie was like, I just want to be an heiress and start giving it away. And I've grown up in a lot of really intimate communities and some intentional communities. Hippies are really good at these. And when you start getting intertwined with, and it seems like the sex work community is very similar to small intentional communities. It is a small intentional community that you start connecting to all of these different kinds of people with these ridiculously, like you were saying, just all these varied skills and interests and ways. And you're like, well, I mean, when it comes down to it, the only thing I've got to do is just gather resources and get them to my people. Like everyone's got ideas of what to do. I always, the concept of universal basic income and all of the philosophical backings to that go back before that term even existed. But I always revolt and am so offended at the idea that if human beings didn't have to work hard, especially for capitalism, why they just laze around. Like,
that seems
a liar. You are a liar. If you meet people's basic needs, they will make and create and do and build and support and give. They will be busy all day. We are makers by nature. We are doers and creators and helpers. And
I mean, even Marx said that. Marx called people homo faber, which means like man the maker. That was the definition. Instead of homo sapien, it was homo faber. And I really liked that like, besides the man part, but like the idea that like part of our core is wanting to create something. Yeah. No,
it's one of the, like, I have this very,
I don't make any money from this show, and I do it not for money, but because like I want to, but I have to have some level of, I need to have some level of stability to be able to do that, to like sit here and do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a short list of things that people with severe depression should do their best to incorporate into their lives, or the people who love them and are caring for them could help them facilitate, It's basics, but making things is on there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a big deal.
Right.
Frickin' Play-Doh. Make a little guy and say, hi, little guy. You're my depression buddy, like just the act of doing something like that does something for us that generosity also does. Generosity in making. And those are two things. Well, if you look at
children who have their, like, let's say the ideal situation of a child who has their like basic needs met, their parents take care of them, they have food and a place to live and are safe. Like, they don't just sit there all day. They create things. No. Like my son. All day. Like they never
all day.
They never stop. Like my son is rearranging all of his animals and, he likes to line things up. So he's lining them all up in rows. He's counting them. Like then he's rearranging them and lining them up again and counting them. And I think that
I have a toddler whose needs are met And this is just one of
Yeah.
18, this is all day, every day. There's just like,
So
I've got work to do. I need to do something. I need to make something.
It's really hard to imagine that people that are not like to believe if you see children that like our natural impulse is to just do nothing. That's like a sign of burnout. That's not a sign of having your needs
exactly met. No, it's a sign of having more of the resources of the labor that you've taken than you are receiving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
right.
That will result in people just being like,
because I know that when I'm working too much, I'm like, check out. Like which I mean, everybody does in one way or another, you know, like, but it's not because I only do things for money. It's because I'm burnt out because I'm doing so many things. So yeah. All of that is really interesting. And I loved that one of the things that they do at the New Moon Network is to create like a fund for people to do the sort of work that they want to do, like advocacy work or,
normally unpaid labor of helping others.
And then
and spreading the word,
having a way to do that, because I think, I'm talking about the fact that like I'm doing this show without making any income off of it. But I feel like when that's the norm, when that's the only thing that you can do, like when there is no resources for things like that, the only people who can do them are the people who have some degree of privilege and resources. And so you're getting like very narrow perspectives. And I love that, for the people who are like hustling all the time because their basic needs aren't met, like what Melodie was saying about the funds for the Spokes Hub program is, if you're if you're a provider who doesn't have time because you're hustling all the time to give quotes to media or to do like the advocacy work you want to do, then they'll provide you with like money so that you can do that. And I love that. Speaking again about like redistribution of resources. We don't want every single media representation of sex workers to be the top 1% of sex workers.
Yes.
Like creates such a imbalanced perspective. Mm-hmm. And I recognize that I also contribute to that insofar as the people that you find who want to contribute to things are also visible, and visible people are online. They have a lot of resources. They're like, and that's just true. And we just have to, I think the only thing that we can, or I think the starting place for that is just to like acknowledge that you're getting a sliver of people who've already decided that it's okay for them to be public and visible, and they're not afraid that that's going to somehow negatively impact them because they're not as subject to policing or anything.
Right.
All right. But that's why I think that the work that Melodie's doing is important.
I agree. Yeah. It's opened. That episode opened my eyes to the fact that I had no idea those, like, before I met you, like, I, even oddly enough, being so well versed in kink, like, I had never even been to like the only cons I've ever been to were like very specifically kink cons and had nothing to do with like porn or sex work that like, is being done behind closed doors because it's not exactly legal. So like, it's a huge part of, destigmatizing, educating, and resources that I just like had no idea existed, and honestly probably would have helped me in the trajectory of what I've done so far sex work aligns, like I said, so closely.
Yeah.
I feel like I've already been doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to move further into this rhetoric of I've been doing this already for years.
Yeah.
But like, didn't know that I wasn't accessing resources that could possibly save me from a lot of burnout.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And there's a lot of, and this is what I really appreciate about people like Body and also like Pucks Aplenty, who you weren't with us then, but like Pucks Aplenty is a Seattle-based sex worker who also runs a lot of programs. And I'm actually going to go in January. They're running a conference called FatCon, but what they're doing at FatCon is where they're trying to like destigmatize fatness, obviously, but they're having kink play. They're like kink educators there, people doing rope bondage for bigger bodies, all kinds of stuff, but also being very clear that like sex workers have like a space there too. And obviously like Pucks is interested in that because they have done sex work. They're a part of the sex work community and they're also a fat person and they're also in kink play. So like, let's make sure that our fat conference isn't just about fashion, but it also incorporates like sex workers and kink practitioners. And let's try to bring all of those things together. But I think that that's relatively, new that there is like such an explicit like thread of sex work going through like a lot of these other like mainstream conferences too, I think. And I think that's great. It's great to have that there.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't know FatCon existed. I want to go.
You should go. You should totally go. Yeah, I'm going to speak there. And then my friend Nancy's coming with me too. And there's going to be shibari there. And there's a fatlesque like performance every night. So burlesque with fat bodies. And it seems like this is the second year that they've run it. But yeah, and I think that I'm thinking about other places like Woodhall in the past has had like sex worker tracks, and that's not a sex worker conference. That's a sexuality like conference. But like there was a whole swap contingent of it one year, and so I think that you're right. And I think what you're pointing out is that a lot of people in spaces like kink spaces and sex education spaces and BDSM spaces have been doing a lot of the similar work that sex workers have been doing without some of the resources that sex workers have. I even remember when I was showing you like how Blacklist's work, you saying like, oh, we should have this and like have it this level of organized in the sex work or in the kink space too. And there's a lot, I think, that people could learn from how sex workers organize that would be useful in other communities.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's one of the big things in our community has been that the same situations keep happening over and over again because nobody has the money or the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like by, stepping into a new arena, I'm like, I might be able to like bring something more to the table by finding these resources.
Yeah. It made me actually want to sign up for Spokes Hub just so that like there's more incentive to do, I just was like, oh, if they're paying people who've graduated from this program, and I like am actually saying this to all the sex workers in the audience, like they're paying people to do the things that you do for free. If you go to 4 classes, I would go to 4 classes.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Anything else from this episode?
I don't think so. I think that's actually a really good place to clear.
Yeah. I want to say
just
one more thing that I actually
liked
about what they said is that, and this we've been kind of talking about, is that in their life, they also like changed what they were doing within the industry. And I did that too. And I think it's good for people who are listening to think about the fact that you don't have to like, if you're a cam girl, just do that. Or if you're a full service sex worker, just do that. Or, that there was a time that she did all of those things and has now settled on like, given the life that I have right now and whatever relationship structure that, she has. I'd rather just do BDSM services, and just transitioned into like, I just do BDSM services right now. And I also think that that's an important conversation of, it could be what you make it. You don't have to do what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm. I like that she was like, oh, I love camp, but also I hated it. But like, sort of, I feel like there is a vein of people being like, I really enjoy the work that I do, but also I hate it. And I really like my clients, but also they're dicks sometimes. So again,
it's like it's work or something,
Yeah. Actually, it's job.
Yeah, right. And you can love your job and also sometimes be like, oh man,
it also
I don't want to do this. It also sucks. Sometimes it sucks.
Yeah.
Or because it's work. Like, and I think about this, like when I was talking about like burnout, especially on tours, I was like, all of those things individually, I really like I have good clients. I want to go see them. I like, all of this, but then also because it's work and because I'm there to make money, I will take on more than what like I actually would be my sweet spot of like, now I'm sexually satisfied and I'm going to take a nap. No, I'm not going to take a nap. I'm going to like see another. But that's fine because it's also work. So yeah. That is a good place to end. Okay.
Hey, as we mentioned in this episode, Jessie is not getting paid to make these. I am getting paid a little bit to do the editing work and get these all up there. But we are looking actively for people who want to partner with us and have us do ads on the podcast in response to them giving us, resources, money, accolades. We really like money, but we'll discuss other things. So that's my big producer talk about that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, check us out on Patreon, and the address is
patreon.com/sapiotextual, not sexual, textual. I think PJ came up with that handle a long time ago, and I was like, yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
It suits you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us.